Hello and welcome to or back to my library. If you can't tell by the chaos behind me, I am moving soon, and today I need to pack up the bookshelves. So I figured it'd be kind of fun to take you along with me, do a little time lapse of the packing up of the bookshelf, and then once we move, unpacking the bookshelves and setting up the new shelves in the new place. We're staying in the same city, we're just moving to the other side of the city and into a 2-bedroom instead of a 3-bedroom because my roommate and I just want a place to ourselves. I've had a revolving door of pretty terrible roommates in the 3rd bedroom. I've lived in this house for 5 years and it seems like that 3rd bedroom is cursed. I've never had a good roommate in there. They've always been pretty terrible in one way or another, so I am sick of it, and so the two of us are moving into a 2-bedroom just for us. So it's going to be closer to work for both of us as well, which is also great. And yeah, it's time to get everything packed up. This is the majority of the rest of my room, all of my closet, none of the bed, all of my storage stuff. I pretty much just have the bookshelves and clothes and furniture left now. Let's get started, and I first need to start with moving all of these boxes into the hallway for now, just to give me access to the actual bookshelves. So wish me luck for the next couple of hours while I tackle this. They're not gonna fit here, and I'm really fucking mad about that because I have these 3, but I still have my big one, my 2.5-foot one that still needs to go in here, and obviously this is like the size of my hand, so that's not gonna fit. But I did some measuring, and I think once all of this crap is moved, I should be able to do them along these 2 walls if I have them angled. I had that in my last place and it worked, so hopefully it works here. Because otherwise I have no idea what I'm gonna do. My bed has to go in this spot. Hi, Tony. There's nowhere else in this room where it fits, so kind of has to be here. Because this would be a great wall for my bookshelves, but then I have nowhere to sleep. So we'll see. Like, I could maybe put my bed here going this direction, but then I have no nightstand because my bed is a queen, which is this entire wall. I tried that yesterday. It's not going to work. Oh man, this is why I hate moving. I am not good at figuring out where furniture should go. Wish me luck. Finally found my camera so I can actually do this properly. The bookshelves are up. Look at me go. All the books are out of boxes, and today my plan is to organize them. Not right now. I just woke up, I had to have breakfast and caffeinate and all that fun stuff, but they're at least up, they're out. I'm so happy to not have all the boxes in my bedroom. I'm actually able to walk around my bedroom now and not have to climb over the bed to get around because there were so many boxes in here. But yeah, they are up, they are in, and I can't wait to get them organized. last, the bookshelves have finished. And I am so pleased with them. I think they're beautiful. It took me way too long, mainly because I was just procrastinating. All of the decorations took me far too long to finally get up, but they're finally up there for the most part, and the shelves are pretty much done. There are a couple of things that'll probably change here and there and kind of tweak once in a while, but for the most part, this is how the shelves are going to be set up. I think the main change that I'm thinking of doing is switching these two shelves, because when I have my curtains closed, half of the shelf kind of gets covered, and I like my sci-fi a lot more than I like my YA fantasy, so I kind of want to make sure my sci-fi is not being covered. It would kind of bother me having the YA fantasy separated from the rest of the fantasy, but I don't want sci-fi to be covered. So we'll see. I might end up doing that. I'm not too sure. But either way, let's do a quick little tour of where everything is. So up here on the sci-fi shelf, the top shelf is all of my cozier sci-fi novellas, followed by mostly YA sci-fi down here. And then we get into adult sci-fi, more adult sci-fi, and finally the classics, dystopian sci-fi. These two were kind of random here, but whatever. I wanted these two to be up on this shelf. I just didn't have the space for it, so for now they're down there. And then this bottom shelf down here is my tiny little collection of comics, followed by my bookmarks, book sleeves, and all of my old school J-Rock, Visual K magazines. If you recognize any of those magazines, we should be friends. Moving on to the YA shelves. The first three shelves here are all Cassandra Clare, minus those last two. She takes up almost 3 entire little cubbies. Down here are a couple of like piratey fantasies. These books I think are mostly about like gods and that kind of thing. And then this shelf is the rest of the YA fantasy, followed by Maggie Stiefvater. Also, if you see a bunch of holes in the shelves, ignore that. That's just from my TBR for the month, which the ones that I'm planning on reading for the month are just kept over there. So ignore the holes, there's usually something there. Back on the top shelf over here, we've got the fairy fantasy, and then below that are all of the witch books. There are 1, 2, and 3 shelves for witches. This shelf down here is my cozier fantasy romance, and then down here is general fiction, and then the tiny little bit of contemporary YA and middle grade that I have left. And then for my favorite shelf, so the Schwab shelf right here. V.E. Schwab is my favorite author, so of course they had to get the top shelf on the biggest bookshelf. And then because these books are all Portal Fantasy, I thought that would go nicely into the Portal Fantasy books that I have, and my favorite series in the whole world as well right here, which leads into the rest of my Portal Fantasy books right there, and then into my fairy tale kind of fantasy books, which leads into the generic fantasy. This shelf down here is more so epic fantasy. I love my little Lego Hobbit hole. I think it's so cool. So there's all of the adult fantasy that I have. And then this shelf makes me laugh. So I have all of my horror right here. I love seeing my horror novels all spread out as well, because at the last place, all of these books were shoved into like one of these small little cubbies, and it just ended up being this huge stack of like really small books mostly. So it just looked very messy. So I'm very happy that I have them all spread out now. But the part of the shelf that makes me laugh is that I have all of my horror, and then right next to it, romance. And also, fully not on purpose, but all of my romance is very blue, and I just think that's kind of a weird coincidence. But yeah, I just think it's funny having romance and horror on the same shelf. The shelf below that are all of my vampire books, so I've got some more modern ones here, followed by my couple of Anne Rice books, and then all of the classic early 2000 and 2010s vampire books down here as well. And also a cute little vampire squishmallow. I have to properly put that down there, but for now it's just kind of shoved in there. Finally, down here, this is my nonfiction section. So this stack of books is mostly things that were from school, textbooks and that kind of thing. And then it goes into my memoirs and poetry, that kind of thing. And then a handful of classics that I have right there as well. But yeah, those are the bookshelves. I am so happy with them. I think they're beautiful. As I'm sure any book lover knows, the worst part of moving is having to move your bookshelves. It is such a colossal pain in the ass. So as much as it's a huge hassle, it is definitely worth it. And in my opinion, they are beautiful. I'm very pleased with them. Down in the comments, let me know how you like to organize your bookshelf. I like to do mine by subgenre, so putting all of the vampire books and the witch books and the fairy books all together, that kind of thing. I just find that to be the easiest way of finding things, at least for myself personally, and I just think it looks nice when they're all together like that. But I would love to know how you do yours, so
please let me know down below. But aside from that, that'll do it for this video. So thank you as always for coming along. I appreciate you, and I'll catch you in the next video.